morning, I'm Maham Pawa with the news-making headlines around the world. The Deputy Premier, Minister of Interior and Acting Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs says Kuwait and its people are very proud at the United Nations nomination of His Highness the Emir as humanitarian leader. US President Barack Obama meets British Prime Minister David Cameron. At a NATO summit in Wales, Western leaders criticized Russia for its destabilizing influence on the crisis in Ukraine. And Taliban attacks an Afghan government compound in the eastern town of Ghazni, killing at least 18 people. In our first item, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency Donald Tusk, President of the European Council, on the deep trust granted to him by members of the European Council. His Highness also wished him all the best of success to serve the cause of the European people and their efforts for greater progress and prosperity. His Highness also commended the good relationship between the State of Kuwait and the European Union. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency Donald Tusk, President of the European Council, on the deep trust granted to him by members of the European Council. And His Highness Sheikh Jabir Al-Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. The First Deputy Premier, Minister and Minister of Interior, Sheikh Sabah Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, received today a copy of the credentials of the Ambassador of the Czech Republic to the State of Kuwait, Mr. Babul Sivic. The presentation ceremony was attended by the Director of the Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister's Office, Ambassador Sheikh Dr. Ahmed Nasser Al-Muhammad Al-Sabah, and the Director of the Protocol Department, Ambassador Dari Ajran Al-Ajran. Sheikh Sabah Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah also met with the Ambassador of the United States of Mexico to the country, Luis Alberto Stahel, on the end of his tenure in the country. The meeting was attended by Ambassador Sheikh Ahmed Al-Nasser Al-Sabah and a number of senior officials at the ministry. His Excellency, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior and Acting Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs, Chairman of the Central Committee for Addressing Conditions of the Illegal Residents, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, presided today over a meeting of the Central Committee Board of Directors at the Ministry of Interior premises. Speaking at the outset of the meeting, His Excellency said Kuwait and its people are very proud at the United Nations nomination of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah as humanitarian leader. He added that this decision by the United Nations came in recognition of His Highness' generosity in reaching out to humanity and to the people facing humanitarian conditions across the world. He pointed out that this move on the part of the United Nations has boosted Kuwait's image and place at the international forums. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior and Acting Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs thanked members of the Central Committee for their efforts to implement the approved roadmap, which is designed to bring about a permanent solution for the problem of the illegal residents in the country. The Executive President of the Central Committee conducted a presentation in the meeting in which he explained the results and statistics worked out by the committee following the adoption of concrete criteria and rules according to which the committee will execute its mission. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Sabah pointed out that this issue received a genuine interest by His Highness the Emir, His Highness the Crown Prince, adding that His Highness Sheikh Jabir Al-Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, was following up on a continual basis the progress of the company work and the stages it has covered so far. The meeting was attended by the Executive President of the Central Committee, Saleh Al-Fadala, the Secretary General of the Council of Ministers, Abdul Latif Al-Rodan, the Foreign Under-Secretary Khalid Al-Jarallah, the Under-Secretary of the Ministry of Interior, Lieutenant General Sulaiman Fahd Al-Fahd, the Deputy Army Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Mohammed Khalid Al-Khudr, the Director of the Public Authority of Civil Information, Saad Al-Asawsi, and the Acting Secretary of the Central Committee, Retired Lieutenant General Najib Al-Othman. In a new tradition for mutual interaction between the security institution and the civil society organizations, His Excellency, the Deputy Premier, Minister of Interior and Acting Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Subah, met today in the presence of the Interior Undersecretary, Lieutenant General Sliman Fahd Al-Fahd, with the Chairman of Kuwait Engineers Society, Iyad Lahmoud, Chairman of the Kuwait Architects Association, Engineer Mazid Al-Mteri, and the 5 winners of the design for the entrance of the Ministry of Interior premises at Sabhan. Speaking at the outset of the meeting, His Excellency said Kuwait and its people are very proud of the United Nations nomination of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Subah as the humanitarian leader in appreciation of His Highness' great contributions and services to humanity all over the world. He added that this selection came also as a gesture of recognition and appreciation to Kuwait and its people for the contributions they are offering to people around the world. The Deputy Premier, Minister of Interior and Acting Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs also welcomed the winners of the design competition and pointed out that this competition was basically intended to encourage the talented Kuwaiti architects to come up with their creations in an atmosphere of honest contest. His Excellency also praised the contributions of Kuwait Engineers Society and the Architects Association, who were fair in the evaluation of the designed projects. The 5 winners were Ahmed Al-Ghadban, Fajr Al-Gattan, Mohammed Adil, Khalid Al-Awadi and Nasser Al-Mteri. He urged them to continue their work in order to serve the best interest of their country under the wise leadership of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Subah, His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Subah, and His Highness Sheikh Jabir Al-Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Subah, the Prime Minister. Amid efforts to reconstruct Gaza, UNRWA researchers and engineers will begin evaluation and assessment of damages to the homes of the displaced across the Gaza Strip. Other programs are set to help Gazans financially. However, the reconstruction process is still full of challenges as the amount of losses and destruction fueled a total humanitarian crisis. More with Majd Al-Wahidi from Gaza.
In the aftermath of Israel's war, Gaza is battling nothing but a present full of destruction and devastation. Amid efforts of reconstruction, a large team of experts and researchers under the United Nations Development Programme is set to start a damage assessment survey. But for Gaza's civil society organizations, reconstruction is an easy word. A comprehensive process is still needed in addition to a national committee with united vision and goals.
We are calling for sheltering the people who lost their houses, immediate sheltering for them. About 100,000 people who lost their houses. The second point, to establish a national committee consists of the relevant ministries, the NGOs, the private sector, and experts who can work on visioning the reconstruction of Gaza. This is not the first war, so we're in bad need for a comprehensive reconstruction process with the vision to get Gaza from the catastrophe to better conditions.
For ordinary people here, the destruction of their homes is still occupying their minds. Dr. Muhammad Abu Raya is a local physician who lost his house and other flats after Israeli forces targeted one of the tallest towers in Gaza.
It was a shock, it was a sad, it was something crazy from the Israeli side. And now trying to manage ourselves, we and our neighbors in Al-Zafar Tower, we have built like a crisis unit to re-establish and to reconstruct and to follow up all the issues which belong to our tower, such as the relief, and we have received a relief from the Kuwaiti Red Crescent, and we appreciate them very well.
But for Dr. Muhammad, aid coupons are not enough. Independence and dignity are a necessity.
We don't need coupons, we don't need foods. We need our dignity, we need our life to be back. Because after they destroyed our tower, they have destroyed our dreams, our life. For me, I am a physician. I have lost my ID card, my certificate, my computer, my laptop, my external hard disk. Everything belonged to me since I have been born. Until this moment, I have been lost.
Before the war and its fallouts, Gaza was already suffering from a crippling 7-year blockade and 2 devastating Israeli military operations. With Israel's latest war, the total economy, along with the social and political aspects, is in a state of collapse. United Nations said if the siege is not lifted, the reconstruction process may take more than a decade. But it seems that Gaza's psychological scars are even more complex and will take longer time to heal. Majlou Haidi, Kuwait TV, Gaza.
US President Barack Obama met with British Prime Minister David Cameron today for a short bilateral meeting ahead of NATO talks in Wales. The two leaders spoke briefly before the start of the session. The leaders discussed how to tackle Islamic State straddling parts of Iraq and Syria, which has emerged as a new threat on the alliance's southern flank. Obama and Cameron vowed to confront the militants who killed 2 American journalists and threatened the life of a British captive. They appeared to endorse an enhanced role for NATO in the fight against the extremist group, but offered no details. At the start of the NATO summit in Wales, Western leaders today criticized Russia for its destabilizing influence on the crisis in Ukraine. NATO and the UK warned that pressure on Russia would be increased if it did not change course in eastern Ukraine. Prior to the summit, Ukraine's president briefed US and EU leaders on earlier discussions on a ceasefire plan with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The West says it has evidence that Putin is supporting the separatists with training and arms and has sent Russian troops across the border, but Russia denies the accusation. 3 military-type vehicles were seen on fire today in Berezov, a village along the main road connecting Mariupol and Donetsk, the largest rebel-held city in eastern Ukraine. Rebel fighters were seen moving nearby, indicating they could be trying to take control of the strategically important highway. Rebels have made substantial advances against Ukrainian forces over the past 2 weeks, including opening a new front along the coast of the Sea of Azov. That offensive has raised concern that the rebels are aiming to take control of Mariupol and secure a land corridor between Russia and the Crimean Peninsula that Russia annexed in March. The European Union said that talks between Iran and 6 world powers on a nuclear deal will resume in New York on September the 18th. EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton is coordinating the talks on behalf of the US, Russia, China, Britain, France and Germany. EU spokesman Michael Mann declared today that preparatory meetings will be held in Vienna next week. Negotiators face a November 24 deadline to overcome differences over the size and capacity of activities by Tehran that could be used to make nuclear arms. The talks have stalled over intense disagreements over the purpose of Iran's nuclear program, which Tehran insists is aimed at peaceful purposes only. Taliban insurgents detonated 2 powerful truck bombs outside the office of Afghanistan's spy agency and a police compound in the central town of Ghazni today, killing 18 people and wounding around 150. Police said 8 security personnel and 2 civilians were among the dead, with all 19 attackers killed. The attack, the biggest in recent weeks, comes days after the National Directorate of Security, the intelligence arm that is leading the fight against the insurgents, was targeted in the east. Authorities said the attack also targeted a quick reaction team located in the police compound. The attack in Ghazni, one of the provinces that surround the capital city of Kabul, is the latest in a series of offensives launched by the Taliban in the summer fighting season. Concerns were raised in India today after the leader of Al-Qaeda announced in a video message that the group had expanded into the Indian subcontinent. While al-Zawahri's statement referred to the Indian subcontinent, a term that most commonly refers to India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Nepal, his comments were widely seen as directed at India. Indian Home Minister Rajnath Singh met today with top security and intelligence officials to discuss the threat. A spokesperson for India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party said the statement was a matter of serious concern. However, the spokesman said the government is strong enough to face such threats at the federal level. The World Health Organization, the WHO, said more than 1,900 people have now died in West Africa's Ebola outbreak. There have been 3,500 confirmed or probable cases in Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia. WHO Chief Margaret Chan said the outbreaks are racing ahead of the control efforts in these countries. The WHO is meeting today to examine the most promising treatments and to discuss how to fast-track testing and production. Disease control experts, medical researchers, officials from affected countries and specialists in medical ethics are meeting today in Geneva to discuss experimental Ebola treatments and vaccines. And finally, in local business news, the main indices of Kuwait's stock exchange ended the trading today in the red zone. The KSX 15 index reached 1,201.91. That's a loss of 1.78 points. The price index stood at 7,453.75 with a drop of 8.47 points, and the weight index closed at 492.38, losing 0.69 points. The number of trades reached 4,789, worth about 18 million Kuwaiti dinars, with around 177 million shares changing hands. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. Well, with that, we conclude our news bulletin. Thank you for joining us. Have a pleasant time. I'm Maham Tawa. Before we go, we remind you once again of our main top stories. Have a pleasant time and good night. The Deputy Premier, Minister of Interior and Acting Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs says Kuwait and its people are very proud at the United Nations nomination of His Highness the Emir as humanitarian leader. US President Barack Obama meets British Prime Minister David Cameron. At a NATO summit in Wales, Western leaders criticize Russia for its destabilizing influence on the crisis in Ukraine. And Taliban attacks an Afghan government compound in the eastern town of Ghazni, killing at least 18 people.